Okay, well, welcome to, this is kind of an intro. I am not going to be talking any kind of programming, Tom, or any of that kind of stuff. But you know, you did mention WebSockets, JSON. It is one of the things that programmers do like about it is how easy it is to immediately have access to a social graph and a wallet. But let's start from the beginning, more like a 101 if you've never heard of it. Beck's idea. I'm going to play this real quick. Social media.
What are we talking about?
Is social media broken?
A 101 of what?
Right, well, 101 of Noster, so notes and other stuff over relays. But I think this is a good first intro. Just give a nice little 50-second here once I get the sound on.
Ultimately, there's one person that is in charge of what people see or don't see.
Elon Musk was the breaking point.
There's so much censorship going on.
The real solution is to let the user choose the algorithm.
There are no single deciders. There's no single point of failure.
Built by us, for us. It's the
Trash.
users that are building the community. It's users that are providing feedback.
Let me introduce you to Noster, a protocol for security.
So that's just like a little bit of a teaser. That whole documentary is great, but it's like 30 minutes. And I recommend Max, he's awesome. He's done a lot of really cool stuff. But this is actually
Ultimately, there's
posted on Noster. And you'll notice this right here. That's kind of cool. Are you able to see that from that far away?
Let's see, what does it say?
That is somebody zapping him with the words, "I love you, keep shipping," and they gave them 1 million sats. And so you'll know what that is shortly, huh?
Who are they zapping?
Max DeMarco, the guy who made the video, the doc.
What is a zap?
Oh, hold on a second.
Remember, this is an intro.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, I don't know. I'm just, that was a little foreshadowing.
You're having too much fun.
That's a little foreshadowing. So here's what Noster is. Noster allows you to own your own identity and take your friends with you, right? So if you think about, if you know what Bitcoin is, Bitcoin's an open source peer-to-peer protocol, so is Noster, okay? Now, the main kind of beginning of it would be the difference between a protocol and a platform. We were just talking about that, Beck. So your protocol, something like email. Well, on different platforms, I can use Gmail, Yahoo, Hotmail, but you can send emails between them all. Protocol would be like HTTP, HTTPS. Across the internet, you can use Safari, you can use Chrome, you can use Brave. They're able to communicate. You can grab whatever one you want. You can get on the protocol. There is no, it's a agreed set upon rules. So what Noster is, it's notes and other stuff transmitted over relays. And I'll go over the specifics of that, but if you think about the problems that problems that platforms have right now, is if you think about, like, so for example, we were just talking about, whenever you're going to promote something, you got to get on Meetup and post it. You got to get on Twitter and post it. You got to post it on Instagram, Facebook, all these different accounts. You've got different logins. You were talking about how just to get into here, to log into that account, it had to go through 3 separate companies that had all your private information. That was because that's an inherent in accounts. And so the internet used to be open. It used to be free. It used to be where things could communicate, and then big companies came in and were able to kind of create their walled gardens, create all of the things that you want, and they give it away for free, really in exchange for, any guesses, what is how does Facebook make money? Right, they sell you to advertisers, and the more data they can extract from you, the better they can target those ads, the better results they can get for their true customer, the advertiser. And so that leads to things like addiction. Twitter is kind of called for rage baiting, where they'll just try to get the outrage because that emotional dopamine roller coaster that you get. Engagement farming, the influencer culture. I'm gonna become an influencer, where you have to constantly post and you make little screenshots with the open mouth. You can do like the dumb little whatevers to play into whatever's going to happen, but ultimately anything that the influencers do build up, it's still owned and controlled by that platform, right? Whatever that platform has. So if you've been deplatformed, if you've been censored, I had a YouTube account at one point that I was making money from that did get deleted, and I lost that. I had no control over it. And then Facebook depression. There was a big one a while back. So when attention is the currency, negativity and hate rise to the top. because the platforms need people arguing. And so it's a nice back and forth between how enraged or happy or whatever emotions we can make them feel versus how many ads can we show them. And they try to find like that sweet spot, that balance of back and forth, because this is where they're making their money, on the ads. You're not the customer. They're not trying to create a good product for you. They want a good enough product to where they can sell it to the advertisers. So kind of similar to this, but it's not just social media. See, with social media, you've got Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of that. Noster, you can have multiple different clients. So these over here, Damus, Primal, Amethyst, Coracle, Nostrudo, Ditto, Snort, these are different clients that you can use. And all of those clients, what's interesting about it is if I'm on Twitter and you're on Facebook, I can't send you a direct message. Right? I can't like your picture on Instagram, through TikTok. But on Damus, I can send you a message in Primal that you'll receive in Primal. Or I know G use Amethyst. You can go and you can zap him. You can like his picture or leave a comment on his picture, even though you're using Damus. And so having multiple different, so I'll just skip to the Noster part here. There is no advertising yet. I think at some point somebody will figure out a way, but they'll be competing against clients that don't have any advertising. There's transparent algorithms. So for example, Twitter got a lot of heat for what their algorithm is for that rage baiting, right? To pull you in and get, or TikTok is like known for it. You download it and what can they do to suck as much attention to it as possible? Well, there is none of that in Noster. You don't need that. And there's actually a whole feed marketplace that we can talk about here in a second, to where your feed can be, if you just want chronological order, if you want whatever kind of feed you want, and it's transparent, you can see it. I think Elon said he was going to open source the X. Do y'all know? He said he was going to open source the X algorithm. I'm not sure if he actually did or not. I know last time I looked, he said he did, but hadn't yet. I don't know if it, okay. So yeah, you control your data. That's what I mean by your identity. You take it around wherever you want. You can plug it into these social media type clients, and all of your followers are there. Everything you have, your entire social graph, your network is there. So platforms versus protocols, it goes beyond social media to things like Spotify. So with Spotify, do you use Podhome, right, G? Is it Podhome?
I don't know what that is.
Welcome. No, you don't use Podhome. What do you use for the podcast to get it all out?
Well, now it's Spotify, but
Yeah, come up close.
they got bought up.
Spotify? Okay. So with Spotify, they've also kind of created a walled garden in Spotify. So in order to be Spotify, if something's like Joe Rogan, I think, is the most famous one, you can't listen to it. It doesn't use RSS anymore. Is anybody familiar with RSS? Have y'all ever used RSS? Okay. Not so much anymore, right? Well, Wavelength, Fountain FM, Toonster, these are different clients on the Noster network that you can plug into any of them. And so right now I like Fountain for podcast. I like Wavelength for music. Toonster is more of like a live show type thing, live concerts, that kind of stuff. Now anybody else can come in there and compete against them. And if I take my Noster identity and plug it in over here, I've lost nothing between the two. I can immediately change over to the other. At the minute that Primal starts doing something I don't like, I could in fact, I have both Primal and Amethyst on my Android phone. I can shift over from one to the other. You guys following me so far? Real quick question. Have you ever heard of Noster? Have you ever used it?
I've heard of it.
You've heard of it. Do you have any clients on your phone or on your...
I don't have an account.
Never used it? Okay.
But I know what it is.
You know what it is? Okay. So same thing for flare.pub. That would be one of them that's like a YouTube or a Rumble type thing. I mean, basically the entire internet, not that it's going to be, but the entire internet could be rebuilt over Noster, right? Now there's pros and cons to that. And some of the main pros is that you own your data. You own your social identity. The fact that I'm following G and a couple other people and they follow me, and whenever I put out a post, like for instance, I mentioned that I was doing this, I got zapped. And I'm going to explain what that is in a second. Zap.stream, that would be another one that for Twitch. That would be like a live streaming type platform that you can do over Noster. The cool thing about Zap.stream is so let's say we're doing a podcast over Zap.stream, or if this was being streamed live, people could get in there and they could get on it and they could watch it live, and then from one button, they're automatically, if they have never used Noster before, now they have an identity. They can comment on there. and immediately engage. Whereas there's like a whole startup process if you're going to try to get on a Twitter Spaces or on Twitch, or I think they need your blood type, like all kinds of stuff. Wait, what does that say? Yeah, we were the client, the protocol, and the hosting, which produced a single point of failure, the company. So that was what Jack Dorsey said about Twitter, that single point of failure. So we were just talking about like the Twitter files and all that kind of stuff, having that neck that can choke, or that's like Elon said, we're all about free speech at X, not gonna bend the knee to everything with Brazil. And then shortly after that, they said, yeah, you know what, we'll do everything you say, we're gonna block everybody, we're gonna shut down all the free speech, right? And it's because, he's got other interests besides X. And at the end of the day, it's one person you need to know. Whereas if all of that was on Noster, there would be who do you go to? There's nobody to ask. It's a protocol, not a platform. So here's a quick, kind of a simple version of how it works. So who's familiar with cryptography, public-private key cryptography? Yes. What's your name? Ina. Yes. Awesome. So Ina, looks like everybody is. Okay. So I'll kind of skip that. So essentially, you know that you've got your public key and your private key, just like with Bitcoin, right? I think this is a decent example. There's 2 to the 96 different public-private key pairs options, and there's only 2 to the 66 different grains of sand in the world. So instead of having an actual password and a username and an email that's hosted on a server, which is just somebody else's computer, you've got a random long number string that you can log in with, and with that is an associated public key. And so anything that you post on Noster, you're signing it with your private key. So like, for instance, when we found out that the president was not going to be the president, not trying to run again, right? We found out through a tweet. Well, could Elon have made that tweet? It could have. There was no, we had no real proof, whereas if it's signed with a private key, and again, you can ask that same sort of thing, but at least it's cryptographically signed. It's not faked, right? You know that it happened. Somebody posts something and then later they want to remove it. They can delete it, right? And now you have to take a screenshot of somebody if they're saying something that, whereas with this, the way that Noster works, it's out there and it's out there as long as people are willing to hold it out there. So you take this private key and you plug it into a client. Talked about a couple of them. Toonster, Wavelength, FM, or the social media ones with Damus, Primal, Amethyst. You plug it into a client, and with this client, your client is for writing and sending, right? And so you're gonna write a note, you're gonna sign it, and you send it out, and then it's for requesting and subscribing. And so that's simply what a client does. No matter how you plug in that client and whatever the use of the application is, that's all it does. Then you've got relays. Now there's a bunch of them. But if you've got one of them, all it does is inside the relay, you're going to be saving the received data. So this note, this tweet, this link that goes to a photo, the fact that you liked this video, that's that goes in here, it's received, and then it sends it out according to request. So if I'm in my client and I say I want to see all the posts in chronological order from the 100 people I follow. Well, this is going to go here. It's going to go to the relay. It's going to say, give me all the notes from the 100 people I follow, the most recent ones, and bring them back in. And so that's kind of pretty simple, and that's why programming on it is easy. Does that make sense? Any questions on that part? Pretty straightforward? Okay, so that's the kind of basic. You don't really have to know any of that, but maybe why would be a good thing to know. I was just talking to G about this. Sign in, needing email, password, having to create accounts, remembering these logins, using different key managers for your passwords across everything. Whereas with Noster, you can sign in with an extension, and if you needed, down the pipeline, are y'all familiar with hardware wallets with Bitcoin? Hardware signing devices? Same sort of thing could be done for Noster. If you have like an identity, like the president's Noster identity, something that does need to be really locked in. But the cool thing is you can spin up as many as you like. So like I talked about with zap.stream, you can have a disposable one only for this one conversation. I've got a new identity. Decentralized. There is no homepage to be taken down. There's no one company that can go out of business and all the work that you put into Google Circles or what was it? The long list of Google things that they came out with, right? The messages are signed. You know that they're there. There are times that's exactly when it happened, and you know that it came from this person. And censorship resistant. So how's it censorship? We looked at it, and it had one relay, right? Well, you can subscribe to 100 relays, 10 relays. They're making that a little bit better to where you don't have to do it that way to still get this same output. But Damus, you use Damus. He's done it, I think, twice, maybe 3 times, where he just deleted everything. Deleted everything. What do you think happened to people that were using Noster when the Damus creator deleted all the notes on the relay? Any guesses?
Nothing. Or had to resync to.
Well, let's say you got 3. Well, here, look. Let's do this way. Where's my mouse? So start using Noster. Chooses a couple of relays. And so you got Philippa and you got Frank. Now, Frank starts following Philippa. He finds out about her outbacks. Basically, he's following these 2 relays, and he's able to get her notes from both of these relays. Well, Philippa keeps pushing notes to her outbox relays, and Frank keeps getting them. And then she starts having controversial opinions. And because of that, she is banned from the Damus relay, right there. Well, Philippa, she doesn't have to act immediately as Frank continues to read her notes from this one right here. But later, Philippa updates her relay list and improves the situation. She keeps publishing her controversial stuff, and she gets banned from this relay. Everything continues to work. Better yet, with an updated relay list, life goes on. After a while, she's banned from this relay as well, and the story repeats itself. And so, after being banned, decides to set up her own relay down here, and the transaction happens without much disturbance. She keeps using relays from others too, because redundancy is good. And all is good. So when Damus did delete all the notes off of their relay, it did not matter because, most people don't have just one relay. You've got several. And so that's where that censorship-resistant part comes in. So Noster is a social glue that binds your applications together because you can use multiple different applications. Anything can be rebuilt on Noster. You asked early in the beginning, zaps. What are zaps? So anybody unfamiliar with Bitcoin? Everybody's familiar with Bitcoin. I figured, how would you not be, right? So has everybody used the Lightning Network? Yes. Yeah. Not you. Are you familiar with the Lightning Network?
I'm familiar, I haven't used it.
Okay. So with over the Lightning Network, Noster sends Bitcoin to other people. It allows for true micropayments. Like I was just telling, I posted a note earlier that I was going to do this, and somebody zapped me 111 sats, which right now is like, 10 cents, 9 cents, something like that. They gave me 9 cents for that tweet, basically, right? Well, I posted things on Facebook, never made a dime. Posted that I was going to do this, made 9 cents. How about that? If I were to sell it for dollars today, maybe, people are out there zapping generational wealth back and forth all over Noster all the time. So value for value is this concept of, this one's specifically for like TuneStir, Wavelength. So there is a big problem in the music industry with the companies that do own it all. Without going too deep into it, Noster is allowing for content creators, whether they're musicians or artists or some sort, to put their stuff out there for people to find it, and when they do find value in it, for them to zap them directly without going through a middleman, right? Because there is no Noster company protocol platform that takes a cut, or Sony. That's the gist of my intro, one-on-one.